to Girls Who Gab.
I'm Cassie.
And I'm Bailey.
And today we are going to be talking about some high school stories.
Yep, all the things
I'm
that made
excited.
us.
Yeah, seriously. Those big founding situations.
I'm excited for this one.
Mm-hmm.
What are you drinking today?
Today I have the Arbonne 7-Day Cleanse in 32 ounces of water along with 2 pomegranate fizz sticks.
And that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I've never tried the cleanse with any fizz before.
Yeah, I like it. Because the cleanse has like a flavor of its own, I feel like you don't need like the same ratio of fizz to water. Mm-hmm. So like 2 in 32 ounces is plenty. I think it's really flavorful.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
What
I am drinking also Arbonne things. I'm doing a fizz, and then I also threw in like a full control, like a watermelon and kiwi. So I got all the flavors up in here, and it's delicious.
Nice. What flavor fizz are you drinking in it?
Strawberry.
Ooh, so strawberry, watermelon, kiwi? That sounds real good.
And I tried to make it a slushy, which Cassie knows me, but I'm afraid to use my ice in my freezer just because I'm afraid of the toxins or I don't know what. Anyway.
To be fair, one time I tried to pull ice out of her freezer and she was like, no, don't do that. It's so bad. And I was like, I don't care. And then it was like brown.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I risked my life this morning and I threw it in because I wanted to make a slushie. So I just did water, the 2 packs, the fizz and the full control, and then a bunch of ice. And it's delicious because there's also a ton of flavor hiding the fact that it probably is bad. It's fine.
Okay.
Anyway.
Over dramatic. That's so funny.
Yep.
Before we get started, do we have pour ones out and cheers to that?
Pour one out. My pour one out is that we're still on the hunt for houses, and every time we find one, I mean, I've heard a lot of stories from people, they put in offers, a multiple amount of offers, whether that be 10 or whether that be 60, they put in a lot. And it's not, as easy as it sounds looking for a house or putting in an offer and then just getting told, okay, it's yours. So it's a little stressful for us over these past couple days. We're getting towards the end. And so we're really like, okay, yeah, time's ticking. We need to, it's go time now. And so, yes, every time we find a house, something comes up. And so we kind of get pushed back down.
Yeah.
But
excited and then disappointed.
Yeah. And I'm really, really good at not getting my hopes built up for anything. I've always been that way. I know how to be happy about it, but I also know when to cut that emotion off and to not but Andre over here finds a house that he loves and he envisions everything. And he's like, okay, this would go there and this. And I'm like,
I don't want to be a part of this yet.
Or your heart. Yeah. So anyways, yes. My pour one out is kind of weird because it's good, it's happy, but it's sad because we haven't found that one yet. And there's been a lot of houses that we're in love with. So it's a little rough.
Yeah, and stressful. Stressful with as the time comes up to the point where you guys need to decide what you're doing with moving or not moving and stuff like that.
Exactly. I actually just got a letter on my front doorstep from the leasing office saying okay, so 30-day notice or are you renewing with us? What's happening? I'm like, that's a great question.
Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting watching you guys do this because when February comes around, I will be doing that. That's when our lease is up and it's just dang, okay, now I know I've got to start earlier than I really initially thought I had because there's a lot of potential for having to go house to house to house. So it's good to know for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you guys don't get to learn from me. I get to learn from you.
With all the things.
Yeah, very true. What is my pour one out? My pour one out this week is that I did not do well with my eating habits or my drinking habits. I finished my 30 days of alcohol free. I'm week 3 into Arbonne's 30 days of healthy living, and I've been doing good with like my meal replacement and all of that. But this week I went to a like happy hour with a friend of mine from work to celebrate something going on in her life. And then I also got to celebrate something going on in my life, which I'm going to announce in my cheers to that.
In your cheers.
But yeah, so I didn't do great this week when it comes to food. I ate a lot of fried food. Also, my work happened to have 2 days in a row where they ordered us In-N-Out, and then they ordered us Chipotle. And I'm like,
they did that.
They do it usually like once a month for sync meetings, so like our staff meetings. But we also had a birthday in our house, and then something else happened too. And so it was 2 days in a row where they ordered us food, and I'm like, yes, I want free food, but wow,
horrible timing.
Yeah, and I don't know how to say no. I'm like, yes, I want free food. Absolutely, give me some animal fries. Like,
oh my goodness, I know you can't say no to those certain things.
Yeah.
And you're about to pop some champagne tonight. So do you just want to go straight into your cheers to that?
Yeah, sure. So I hinted at it a few times throughout the last like couple weeks, but I've been in the process of interviewing for a new job, and I finally got it. So I'm so excited. I will be working with the deaf. I will be working at an agency, a nonprofit. Are you okay?
Yep. There's a hole in my mouth. Anyways.
Yeah, I will be working with the deaf. I'll be working at a nonprofit agency that does deaf services, and I will be the administrative assistant for them. And I am very, very, very excited because it's just like one step into my like career.
The direction you want to be. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's so exciting. I know.
And the whole process was so stressful. Oh my God.
Yeah, it really was. Guys, being her friend was stressful for a couple weeks.
Yeah, because they took
like forever. To be fair, they took forever.
Yeah, so they would like interview me, and then I passed that, and then so the beginning part like went really fast. So I like had an interview that was like a skills assessment to make sure I was fluent in ASL, and then they very quickly had me set up for an interview with the executive directors, and that felt like it went well. And then shortly after that, they emailed me saying they're looking at my references, and then all of a sudden things started to slow down, which granted, whenever they're looking at your references, that tends to take time because you're dealing with a bunch of people's random schedules.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really stressful. And the day that I ended up getting the job, the offer, was the day that I had decided, like, I didn't get it and I need to start working on moving on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I called Bailey
and then ta-da! Yeah, she calls me when she's like on the freeway freaking out, and she's to herself. She's like, I need to pull over. Like, this is not okay. She's trying to read this letter in her car while driving on the freeway. Not a good idea.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. I pulled over very quickly, and then I read the rest of it.
Yeah, she did. She like started, and she was like, no.
Yeah, I was like, I need to get over.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what is your cheers to that?
Well, huge congratulations to you. So
thank you.
My cheers to that is kind of what you did, to where there was a cheers to that, but you didn't tell us because you didn't want to get your hopes up. So I'm living that right now. So I have a really big cheers to that, but I don't want to announce it yet because nothing is like set in stone. So I just want to hold on to it to myself, but know that it's amazing and life's great. And that's that.
And I can't wait to pop some champagne with you about it.
I know, see?
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
So starting off with our high school stories, I want to start off with talking about the fact that I went to an art school, a public art school, and it was a really small school. So I had a graduating class of 83.
Damn.
Yeah, very tiny.
Oh
I think
our
total number of kids throughout my time there, like on a yearly basis, would have been like around 500.
Oh, wow.
I think that's even overestimating how many
holy
students we had.
Cannoli.
Yeah, very, very small school.
Yeah, my graduating class was in your whole school number. Like, what? That's insane.
Well, and there are schools in the same district as me that have like graduating classes of 1,400.
Yeah, it's insane.
With being an art school too, we didn't have any sports, nothing on
Dang.
campus at
Yeah.
all. We did 2 musicals a year, 2 dance shows a year, 2 straight plays a year, which means no songs in them. We had like 3 different art shows for like drawing and painting. We had one really big yearly event that was like I think it was called the Renaissance, and it was like on our school campus, and you had like an art show like for drawing and painting, and you had people like walking around in guerrilla troops, which means like acting and like performing just like randomly in the middle of places.
Yeah. Ooh,
And you had a
fun.
choir show and all that stuff. So that
Oh,
was
well, that's exciting. So, like, fun curricular activities. I like that.
Yeah,
I
and
like that.
I was involved all year long. So my school day was like basically 7:50 to 5:30 because school ended at 2:50, but then we had
And you would
rehearsals.
stay. That's how it was for me too, being in cheer all of high school. School would end and practice would be 10 minutes later. And so then you were there. And like on game days or something, you would be there till midnight. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
So my high school was very different. So my graduating class, I don't remember the exact number, but I'm just going to say 500. It could be a little less, could be a little more, or a lot more. Don't know. But that was my graduating class. I had a very large high school, and it was in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. It was a wonderful little place in the middle of nowhere. My high school was, because like the area that it was, everything was still building up. So like housing developments were nowhere around, very in the middle of nowhere. So it was great. It was a brand new high school. So the first year that I went was the first year the school opened in 2009. And then there wasn't even seniors yet. So it was just us freshmen, juniors, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. I don't even remember how it goes. And that's where it ended. So like the year the seniors graduated, we're the first seniors to graduate, like VSU Cleveland High School was so cool. And then for my class, for us to say like, we're the first class to go like every single year through the high school, all 4 years. And so that was really cool. Being a brand new school, you know, it had its perks. Everything was brand new, like nothing was ruined. It was such a beautiful ground, completely opposite of yours. Like we were heavily into sports, and like we didn't just like do great and shine in football. Like it was like baseball, football, wrestling, basketball. The cheer team was bomb. And so it was like everything. It was a very active school for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of your freshman year being the first seniors to like go all 4 years, my freshman year, the seniors that year were the first to go to my school all 4 years.
That's cool.
So yeah, it was really cool to get to watch them be that excited about being from this school. Like when you're a freshman, you're just like, and
it gets you pumped.
Yeah, and like we'll also get into some of the other stuff, but like I basically didn't initially want to go to this school. I was enforced to by my mother because she thought it would be good for me, and so it was really cool to see these kids who were 4 years older than me like really love being at this school. I think that was a good experience for me.
Yeah, well, that's cool. So kind of same experience on my end. I wasn't one of the kids that didn't want to go to the school, but because this was only the second high school in Rio Rancho, the other high school, obviously, you know, the city had to create borders of like school districts, you know, Cleveland versus the Rio Rancho High School. And so there were a lot of kids that got pulled from Rio Rancho, or eighth graders that were supposed to go to Rio Rancho and they grew up, you know, Rams, and then all of a sudden they went to become a Storm. Like, what is even a Storm? So there was like a lot of controversy about and like upsets about that. On the other hand, there were, and that was a very like minimal amount of people, you know, but it was nice. It was good. It was a good experience for me because I was coming in brand new. I had just moved to New Mexico my 8th grade year. And so still going into freshman, I was still new to the area. I didn't really have that many friends. So it felt good to me that like I wasn't the only new one, you know. It was nice.
Yeah. It's kind of weird to think about like the whole school district that I grew up in is where I still live, which is why I'm trying to be kind of vague about
I know you are.
the names and stuff. But so the school district that I grew up in, the middle school that I went to had two main schools that most kids went to, and they are rivalries. And so it was like such a big deal in 8th grade to be like, oh, I'm going to this school, or I'm going to this school. And like already starting up on like, ooh, we're picking sides. And all of my friends, with the exception of one, went to the one high school. And then one friend went to the other rivalry school. And so I really wanted to go to that school with all of my friends. Okay. And I was eligible. So the way that my school district works too is like, yes, we are assigned a school like by where our home school is. But if we have high enough grades, then we can choose any school in the district to go to.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So you get your first choice, and like the school technically has to accept you, but if you have high enough grades, it's really likely that you'll be able to go to whatever school you want.
Right.
And so I knew that I could go to that school, even though it wasn't my home school. And my mom really wanted me to go to this art school because she thought that it was cool that it was way smaller. The school that I'm talking about also has a graduating class of 1,400. So that was the school I was talking about earlier. She wanted me to go to the smaller school. She thought that like that would be good for me. And then I also have always really loved musical theater. So she wanted me to go to this art school. And like, I don't know, I looking back, think I understand where her point was. But it was really difficult to like be forced to go to a school where none of my friends went. And we'll get into some like friendship stuff later, but it like definitely I think affected that too.
Yeah. I can see what you mean, because my mom and dad moved me away for all the right reasons when I was in 7th grade, the summer right after. And so at that time, that's like at the age where you start building best friends and the best relationships. And so like she took me away from that, and I was a little upset, but I was bitter for sure. But you know, it's fine. I'm still really good friends with the one best friend who like I was worried about leaving, and that's like no worries whatsoever now. So
yeah, it's really interesting looking back, because I think about like my closest friend that I had in middle school. I maintained that friendship up all the way through high school, even though we didn't go to the same school. And we were friends up until our early 20s. Yeah. And we do want to do an episode on friendship. We'll do it eventually. Yes. And so I will eventually go into detail of that particular friendship.
That relationship.
But I wish that going to different schools had changed, had ended that friendship earlier, basically.
I got you.
But it didn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Yeah. It made for some great stories, I think, maybe. I don't know. Hope
there
you had
are
good
some
experiences. I'm sure there are.
Yeah, and definitely some entertaining stories.
I can say the same. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, so starting with extracurriculars.
Yeah, so I did cheer, and that was it, basically. My story is a little crazy because in 8th grade, I didn't do anything. Like I said, it was my first year there. I didn't want anything to do with anyone. I was still bitter about moving to land of enchantment. And
what does that mean, land of enchantment?
That's what New Mexico is called. It's called the land of enchantment. I love New Mexico, but it just
did you move from California to New Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. 8th grade, I didn't do anything. And I was wearing a gymnastics sweatshirt one day because I was in gymnastics when I originally lived in California. And one of I think she was my math teacher at the time, was a varsity coach for the new high school coming up, the high school that I went to, Cleveland. And she was like, oh, you're a gymnast? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I used to back when I lived here. And she was like, well, tryouts are today or this week or something. You should come for cheer. And I was like, okay. So I actually went and I made the freshman team, and I was so proud of myself. I went to summer camp that year, and it was fantastic. And I can't remember if I don't know why I can't remember this. I don't remember if it was my freshman year that I went through the whole cheer team on the freshman team, or if if it was during the year or the summer right before sophomore year that I got pulled up to varsity. I don't remember the timeline of that, but basically, so I was a flyer, you know, the petite one getting thrown up in the air, and someone on the varsity team like hurt themselves and they needed someone. And so my coach called me and was like, do you want to move up to varsity? And I was like, oh, I'm getting chills right now talking about it. Because I remember exactly, like, the coach had called my mom actually and was like, we want to make this offer to your daughter, blah, 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 you know. And anyways, yeah, folding laundry in my parents' bed when it happened. And then I moved up to varsity and it was great. I definitely got a lot of heat about it though. Like, there was some shade from the girls. Like, I've never cheered before, you know. I wasn't that good except for like, I literally was not that good except for flying. And like, I was just, there was some hate for it for sure. But it is what it is. And people from the JV team hated me because I surpassed them. And I truthfully don't know why to this day, but coach saw something in me and that was great. So anyway, so then I did varsity cheer for the rest of high school and it was like the best experience of my life all up until varsity year, senior year. So like senior year, I really started to go down in like my life and like my mood. And I wouldn't call it depression because I feel like that time, you know, a lot of the people will just call it depression, but they're just, you know, I don't know. That's what I was going through. I wouldn't call it depression, but I was like upset all the time. I was like, got more into drinking. I started drinking my junior, the summer after junior year. Yeah. Started drinking then, and not like a lot, but I was going to parties. I also started smoking, and then senior year, I was like continued doing all of that. I started going to more parties. I started sneaking out. There was just like a lot of things that I just like felt negative about. My relationship with my parents was a little rough at that time in my life. And so I just had a lot of hate built up in me. So then I just became rude. I did like mean things to my friends. Like, I wasn't a good friend. I just wasn't the person that like I wanted to be. And like, I shouldn't have been that person at the time to people. And I was. And a lot of people hate me. Like, I lost so many friendships because of it. And I literally only have one good friendship from high school, and that's Rochelle. And I freaking love her. But anyways, and then 1 week before state for cheer, which we were doing so good, my junior year, we got second in the state competition. So like there was so much built up that we were going to win this year. And like we had won all of our competitions that year. We went to Universal Studios that year and competed there. We went to Disneyland. It was just, there were so many fun times. And for the record, yeah, we went to Disney World. That was like a great experience. Anyway, sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm like thinking of all the great things as of like I'm about to tell this negative story. 1 week before state happened, my mom had called. Like, my mom and I had gotten into a big fight. My grades were dropping because I didn't care about any of that either. My mom had called my coach and was like, yeah, I'm removing Bayley from the cheer team. And this was like the week of state. And it was very emotional. And I had no idea that my mom, okay, I literally cannot cry. I don't have waterproof mascara on. I had no idea. I walked into practice and coach was like all the girls were sitting and coach was like, Bayley, this is what happened. And she like pulled me aside and everyone else had already knew because coach already told everyone. And so I was like getting looks. I still had no idea what was happening. Coach told me like all these things. And like, there was nothing that I could say. Like, you know, my mom had the reign over me. It is what it is. And so that was just very sad. And then I had to sit there and talk to all the girls and I'm like bawling my eyes out, not looking at anyone, apologizing. And then I left practice and I wasn't a part of the cheer team anymore, like 1 week before state. And then they won state and it was like the most emotional thing like ever to go through. And I went because like I had to support him. But yeah, it was very sad. Like looking back, I'm like, God, like what is wrong with, I mean, you live and you learn. It is what it is, you know, but there was still, I mean, I went through all of college, all of high school on that cheer team. And like, there was so many great friendships that I had built. Like there was like a sisterhood, a family.
Mm-hmm.
And then like after that happened, I swear I lost like everyone, because everyone was so like mad at me. Everyone like just,
Mm-hmm.
God. I literally, hold on.
You're gonna ruin the mascara.
My face is gonna be black. Anyways, it was just like a very sad experience at that point of my life, and it wasn't great. And I just felt felt like I just disappointed everyone, and I did, and it was, yeah. And like I said, there were a lot of my friends on there. So like coming out of that, like I just hate from everyone, you know, and that made it like even worse, my situation, like of the situation that I was already in, kind of like giving up on not life, but like high school at that point, you know.
Yeah.
And it made it worse. I almost wasn't able to graduate. Like nobody knows that. I wasn't almost able to graduate until like the week, you know, the last week of school. I finally like did something, you know, that helped me out and helped me graduate. But yeah, I was like so close to not, and it was stressful. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Difficult senior year.
That's like,
sure.
I know, it's so hard. That's why me telling the story was like all over the place, because like there's so many great things that happened through the 4 years of doing cheer, but just that one bad thing, like that's like all I think about now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, and especially because it's the ending of it. Like,
like it's the last memory that I have that like impacted.
Yeah.
So anyways, that sucks.
Yeah, it definitely does. What an what a story. Yeah. But
anyway,
as you like, it is intense for sure.
It was a big part of my life.
Yeah. To talk about extracurriculars for me, like I said, we did a lot of various shows throughout school. And so the thing, looking back on my high school experience, I think I really wish that I had been willing to like take the leap in focusing on one of the arts, because and not focusing on the art that I did. So like I always prioritized dancing first. So we had dance shows, and senior year I got to choreograph a dance, which was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think I'm pretty proud of like that experience, and I think that's my favorite like memory of all of it. But I also think that I wasn't the best dancer like in the world. I was an average dancer. I was good enough. Yeah. Like I was good enough to be in advanced classes, but I wasn't good enough to be a star or like, you know, whatever. I wasn't good enough for that. And that's okay. And I think I wanted it so badly that I wasn't like willing to admit that to myself. And I think I was a better singer and a better actor, but I wanted to be a better dancer. Yeah. And so I gave up opportunities and didn't prioritize my time in practicing the other two skills that overall I think I had more like raw talent for. And so in doing that, I like lost a lot of opportunities that I think I could have had looking back. And like, obviously I don't know that for sure. Like I might not have ever had like leads or anything, but
there's always the if.
Yeah. And like, I did get solos like pretty often for choir, but I wasn't able to be in advanced choir because it was the same time as advanced dance. And I always chose advanced dance over choir. And like same in acting, I was in the advanced acting class, but I also wanted to do the directing class. And I chose not to because it was at the same time as advanced dance. And like, there was just a lot of like conflicts that I think looking back, I made the wrong choices. Yeah. Like looking at how successful I guess I could have been, I think I made the wrong choices, but you never know until you look back, right? Right. And then the other thing that like I did was senior year, I got a job, like a part-time job at a movie theater. And my mom really like pushed me not to do that because I lived a pretty privileged like life. My mom was willing to give me like a weekly allowance, and all I had to do was babysit once a month. Like I had enough funds to not need a job is what I'm trying to get at here.
Right.
But I wanted a job because I wanted to be able to spend more money.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I chose not to do my senior year's musicals. And so it's not the same story because I like didn't get kicked off or anything. But like I made that decision for myself, and looking back, I really, really regret it.
Yeah.
Because I could have been in one more musical. Like it's not like I get to do that now. Like I can't just like, I mean, I guess I could go join a community theater, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like a lot of looking back of like disappointment in like the decisions I made thinking I was trying to make adult decisions and I wasn't making adult
and you
decisions.
weren't. Right. Also, it's not the time to make adult decisions. You gotta, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
you don't
especially
know that at that age. You're like, I'm an adult. I'm in high school. Or I'm a senior. Like, I am an adult. But
yeah, and especially coming from like, obviously not everyone has the option to choose those things for like I did, you know, like I had the financial like privilege to choose not to worry about adult things as a teenager, but I still like, I don't know, I look back and I'm just like, dang it, like why did
I would have listened to my mom.
Yeah, in that sense, although I am still really mad she made me go to that school, and we'll get into
it. Yeah. Oh, okay. I want to ask you, what is the most like rebellious thing you did on school grounds? Does that make sense?
On school grounds? Okay, because I have a story I want to tell, but it's not on school grounds.
Oh, well, you can tell that too, or you can tell that instead of it. But my specific story is on school grounds, so that's why I'm excited to tell it.
Yeah.
So what's yours?
I honestly was a really good kid, like when it comes to following rules. I was really afraid of getting caught. So there were things that I did that were not good, but I was always really careful about like what is the chance of me getting caught. I probably won't do it if it's high. So on school campus, I didn't really do anything. I did accidentally eat an edible before school one day because I didn't know it was an edible. And that was the first edible I ever had.
Who got offered you it?
It was
Who got offered you it? Stop with my English. Anyways.
It was this kid. He wasn't like, he wasn't a kid that I really talked to. He was like relatively new to our school.
Oh, so you just took food from a stranger. Got it.
No.
I wonder why you get an edible.
I had a graduating class of 83. We all knew each other. Like there's nobody on campus that I didn't know, but this wasn't like a friend. But I did know, like I knew
I'm just
the chances.
Kidding with you.
You know, he was one of the potheads is what I'm trying to get at here. Okay. And I totally had a crush on him. I thought his like skater boy hair was so cute. And so he came up to me one morning and was like, "Hey, Kassie." And I was like, "Oh, hey." Oh, I don't even remember his name now that I'm thinking about it. But he was like, "Hey, want a brownie?" And like, he's obviously high. Looking back on it. But I didn't think about it. So I was like, "Yeah, sure. I love brownies." Oh my And so I eat the brownie. Little did I know that not only did he give me a brownie, but then he got expelled because he also gave a teacher a brownie, and the teacher caught him. Because he's a dumb ass.
What? Okay.
So that was like the most rebellious thing I ever did on campus.
Well, okay, so good, because I have two stories too, one on and one off campus. So the most rebellious thing that I did on campus, and the reason why I say on campus is because I always find it so funny. I wasn't really that rebellious of a kid until, like I said, senior year when I started sneaking out and all the parties and stuff. But man, I think this was a summer, to be honest, maybe like junior summer or something like that. A group of us snuck on to the grounds of the high school. But like I said, we were in a mesa, so in the middle of nowhere. There was one road, nothing behind us, nothing to the right or the left of us. And so we had to couldn't park anywhere without being seen. So we parked away far and then walked on the road, then walked through the mesa, through the dirt and the hills. And then we finally got to the school and we snuck onto the baseball fields. And that was the riskiest thing I did. And then a security guard got us, caught us, didn't catch us. And then we got away in the end. But it was that's the most craziest thing I did on school grounds. I snuck onto my school to go to a baseball field. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Well, and I guess something that I used to do, well, a lot of the things that I used to do on campus that got me in trouble, so to speak, was we had like a dress code, right? So like you got to wear shorts that are past your fingertips and no spaghetti straps and like blah, 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 blah. But I was always in my leotard and tights, like I would go to dance class and like I was not about to change to just go back to rehearsal. So I would just like walk around for lunch in my dance, like my leotard and tights, nothing else. Like I'm in a leotard that is high hipped and tights, and I did not care. And I never had shoes on. Like I never wore shoes.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone, well, all of the dancers did that, but like everyone else thought we were psycho. But yeah, that was also something that Yvonne, she was our like front yard lady, and she was always yelling at me to go put pants on, and I was like, I have pants on. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's pretty rebellious. I would never do that.
But like I wasn't even the only one that did it, and they just always were yelling at me. And then I also did the same thing prom night with our dresses. We had like certain rules for our dresses, and I definitely did not follow the rules. And then Yvonne followed me and tried to pin a scarf on my back, and I was like, bye, Yvonne.
No. Wait, you guys have dress rules for prom? That's so lame. Like my school had dress code too, you know, same thing. Shorts like had to be fingertip length, no tiny spaghetti straps or tube tops or anything. But like dances, heck no. There were risque ladies.
It wasn't like a lot of rules, but like we weren't allowed to have cutouts in our dresses, and like our backs couldn't be past like bra length. Like bra location.
Got it.
And my back of my prom dress junior year definitely went like all the way down to the butt crack.
To the booty.
Yeah. She like she did at one point get this thing pinned on me, and then I just ran away and took it off, and then she was like, didn't I already put that on you? And I'm like, no.
Oh my gosh. That's pretty hilarious. Yeah.
It was a fun time.
I would be so mad.
I loved it. It was really funny. So this would have been summer between junior year, I think. I already had my car. And my boyfriend at the time was 18 and he was 18 and I was 16. So I was not legally allowed to drive people in my car because I had just recently gotten my license.
Okay.
Like, year. But he is over 18 and he has a license, so he could drive people. And one of my rules for my car was that I wasn't allowed to let anybody else drive it because they're not on the insurance, right? But we got Blink-182 concert tickets, and for some reason, my boyfriend did not want to drive his car, even though he had one. He wanted to drive my car because, I mean, my car was nicer, but so I was like, well, you have to drive it. So we drive to the Blink-182 concert, me, him, and his two friends in the back seat. And then they also brought a bunch of alcohol. We had some of those, okay, remember those like drinks that looked like monsters, but I don't remember what they were called, but they had alcohol in them?
You mean a Bang? I mean, you mean a Four Loko?
Yes. I think it was a Four Loko, but it was one of those. It doesn't really matter. It was one of those that was in a can. And so I had one of those, and then they had a whole bottle of rum, and then they had a bunch of Bud Light in the back as well, and then one of the kids had weed in his pocket. And so we get to the Blink-182 concert in the park, and like nobody drank and drive, right? Nobody drank and drove, but our car was on, and we were in the parking lot, and we're all underage. And so I'm drinking this like Bang or whatever the hell it is, and then my boyfriend and one of the kids in the back, or all of them, were drinking out of styrofoam cups, and they had rum and Coke or something in it.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, four cops, two on each side, come and knock on our windows. So luckily for me, at the moment that they had pulled up, my hand was not holding anything. My drink was in the cup holder.
Okay,
and if you remember what Four Locos, or whatever brand it was.
Four Locos, it has to be that, yeah.
It looked like a monster. Like it was a black with green. Okay. And the way it was just happened to be situated, you can't see the brand, right? And my boyfriend had finished his drink, so it's empty. And then the other two kids behind us had not finished their drinks. So they knock on our windows and make us all get out. They don't breathalyze anyone. And so they ask the kid in the back seat right behind me first, like, are you drinking? He goes, no. And then the cop grabs the cup and smells it. And he's like, your drink says otherwise. And then he pours it out and has him get out. And then the cop who's like at my window says, like, have you been drinking? And I didn't even answer because I was so scared. My boyfriend says, no, she hasn't. And then he goes, I was asking her. And so I was like, no, I haven't. And he doesn't notice that there is a open container in my side of the cup holder. He doesn't notice.
Okay.
My boyfriend had finished his drink, so he also says, no, I was just drinking soda. It was just Coke. And they don't breathalyze him for whatever reason. And then the other kid in the back also had alcohol in his cup still, so he gets pulled out. And then they find the weed in his pocket too. So the two kids in the back get court orders, and me and my boyfriend get away with scot-free. And I have no idea to this day, like, why did they not do anything?
You got so lucky. What?
Yeah. And so then my concern was because my car was legally under my grandma's name, which is one of the reasons too why I was not allowed to let anybody else drive the car, because it would like be her insurance being charged, right?
Yeah.
And so the first question I had was, do you have to notify, because they asked for my license and registration and all of that. And I was like, do you have to notify the owner of the vehicle, because it's my car, but like it is under her name? And he goes, I don't legally have to, but you should. And I was like, okay, thanks, officer. Obviously I was like nice and scared.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I never told her about it until much, much later. And then, so me and my boyfriend get out scot-free. They get court orders. We go to the Blink-182 concert. We all go. And then that was the first time I had ever had a cigarette, because my boyfriend pulls out. Oh, and that was the other thing. So everybody in the car except for my boyfriend was under 18. Okay. And there was a pack of cigarettes in the back seat. And so the cop asks, whose are these? And my boyfriend called them, and he was like, they're mine, because at the time you could have cigarettes at 18.
When you were 18, right.
And so he calls them and says they're mine. And so nobody got in trouble for those. And then the cop also was like telling me, because it was like my car, about how like, well, if so-and-so hadn't have, if he had dropped the weed into the car, that would have been on you. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know that. And he's just like trying to scare me, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, we go to the Blink-182 concert. I had my first cigarette ever, because I was like shaking. And we all were shaking. What's the wildest thing that's ever happened to us? Well, to me.
Dang.
And then I had lied to my mom. She didn't know I was going to a Blink-182 concert. And I only lied because we were using my car. Like, I didn't lie for any other reason. She would have let me go to the Blink-182 concert. What?
Yeah.
But I lied, and then I went over to my best friend's house, who's the one that I don't speak to anymore.
Right. And
I spent the night at her house, like really late at night. And what?
Okay, yep.
That's the end. I don't know how else to end it. It ends so like easy, but like
abrupt. I mean, the crazy thing happened in the beginning, and then you still went on, enjoyed the concert, and that was that. Dang.
Yeah, and it was also one of my favorite concerts I've ever been to this day. Blink-182 is great.
They sound like a fun time. Mm-hmm. A fun time live. I would not have been able to go to the concert though, to be honest. I would have been like, I need to go home now. I can't do this. Something else is bound to happen to me at the concert. I cannot.
Yeah, well, and like they were planning on actually, I think the reason we were sitting in the car is because we couldn't bring anything in, because they do checks at the start. And I've been to that location like since turning 21, and they don't want you to bring anything in. So like I've gone to that place and like hidden flasks all up over the place.
Right.
Because you don't want to buy the $14
crazy
expensive drinks.
Yeah. My story, I don't know if this is like risky, but it's a really funny story, and every time I think about it, like high school, it's one of the stories that I think of. So like I said, when I started sneaking out, I had to get really creative. I lived on a two-story house where it was like straight wall to the second story on 3 sides. The only side that had like the first level roof under windows was the very front of the house. And that was always stressful. Obviously, I couldn't climb my way back up there, but I could leave through that window. Well, we also had a doggy door, and we have always had large dogs. So the doggy door was freaking enormous. And basically, you already know where this is going, but listen, the stressful part is, I'm so sorry, mom and dad. Not that I think that they listen to this, but they still don't know to this day that I
Hey,
have snuck
my
out.
mom's rule is if it happened more than 2 years ago, there's no getting in trouble for
I
it.
mean, you're right. They can't do anything to me now. It is what it is.
Yeah, you're a mom yourself.
But
It's great.
I know. So I had to get creative because my dad became a huge gamer, like would play games, Call of Duty all day, every day, would be up until like 3 a.m. and have to wake up at work at 5 to be there at 6. So like my time was like very limited on when I could sneak out. But leaving was always the hardest part for me because sometimes he would play upstairs in our den, and that's where the windows were, or it would be downstairs and that's where the doggy door is. Like, let's say the TV is here, the couch is here, and the doggy door is right here. So it was like clear shot. It wasn't like behind the couch where I could try and sneak out. No, I had to wait until he was like asleep. So I would sneak out the doggy door and then pray that, no one would hear me because the doggy door is right next to my parents' bedroom. Also, we have a dog, obviously, so it could just be him. It's fine, was always my mindset, although he sleeps in their bedroom. Anyways. So, but then coming back in would be the scariest, most stressful part because the times where I had to sneak out the window upstairs, I obviously had to come back in through the doggy door, but I wasn't able to find out if my dad was like up still playing games. So it was always a gamble. Like I would just have to risk it. I got good and I would leave a certain window screen open so that I can peek in and see if my dad was there. And anyways, because we had a fish tank, so the fish tank light would light up the living room. So I'd be able to see, like it wouldn't be able to sneaky dad wouldn't be able to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's always funny. But so the best part of this is that I had a Mercedes 1979 vehicle, very loud, very old. So sneaking away in my car was like impossible. I think I did it all of twice. And all the other times I was like, I am not driving. You're either picking me up or I'm walking down the street and like parking my car down the street the night before I know that I'm leaving because I can't do this every time. Mm-hmm. Every time I would start my car, I'd have like an anxiety attack. They're awake. This monster is awakening them. I can't.
I never sneaked out of my house.
That's good.
But I didn't really have a lot of rules.
Oh yeah, yeah. You so, were
Yeah, and like once I had my car, I swear. So I had a friend who she lived closer to school than I did because again, this isn't my home school. So like it was across the whole city, and I live in a big city, and so I had this friend who lived closer and I was her ride anyway. Mm-hmm. And so I would drop her off after like all of our rehearsals and stuff. And then we would do homework or whatever. And then I would just be like, I'm going to spend the night. And her mom didn't care. And my mom didn't care. Mm-hmm. And so I just I wasn't home that often, but I never, we never really sneaked out. Also, like I was generally a good kid. My things that I did do were always in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even then, most of like the crazy stuff happened like during that time frame after high school, but before you turn 21.
Oh yeah.
That middle time.
Yeah,
a lot of my stories are
some. Me too.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
doggy door.
Just oh gosh, it was the most stressful thing. I'm like, Andre, we're never getting a doggy door. We have to if we get a dog. But anyways, okay. So the last part of that story, like I said, I was a cheerleader. Some of the friends that I would sneak out with were also cheerleaders. So when I would sneak out that top second story, the only way that we would thought of to get down was to stunt it. So that's what we would do. I had his name was Justice. We would partner stunt, and he would put his hands up. And then I would put my feet down, and then we'd do a bump down, and it was like the most perfect setup ever.
He couldn't ever put you back up there?
You're right. We just never thought of that.
Just like throw you
right
up.
Now. Yeah. So literally right now. That's funny. Yeah. So anyways, those were my sneaking out days. And I'd really, like you said, I didn't do it often. I maybe did it less than 10 times, honestly. Less than 8 times. But the times I did, it was like my senior year, and all before that, I was a pretty good kid too. And like I was always at Rochelle's house, same thing. Like I would be like going there after school or after practice, after games, and then end up being like, oh, mom, like I am just going to stay the night, like on a school night. Like it would be cool just because she knew where I was. And I was literally always at Rochelle's, always.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that was the same with me.
Same. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I love it.
Okay, well, I want to talk about some like friendships and relationships for me at least. And yeah, I want to get into some of that. So I had one boyfriend throughout high school. We started dating in 9th grade and we broke up senior year. So there were lots of breakups in between. He was not a great guy. He was actually a piece of shit.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least.
You learned from him.
Yeah, I did. I actually have a whole video about that on my channel for more Sassy Cassie. And okay, so like talking about what I was talking about earlier with like my mom making me go to this school and then my friends going to this school and all of that stuff. I think that the whole environment created the environment that I was in with him too, because I didn't have any close friends at the time that I met him that went to the school. And so then I like became really codependent on him. So like I was like always all about like what like he wanted and stuff, and like yeah, and he was also the one who was always doing the troublesome things, like the Blink-182 concert situation. It's the same person. Yeah, so I don't really know like how to go about like talking in detail about him. I guess I don't, it's too long of a story to like tell all of it.
I mean, that's 4 years.
Yeah. I do remember this like should have been the big red flag, because I remember when I started talking to him and like we were flirty and stuff, it was during a musical and he was a musician. So we had like a green room where all of the musicians and cast members could hang out with each other before like the big rehearsal. So this is like the week of the show. We would go, we rented out the theater for the week and we would go for 9 hours on the weekends. Yeah. And rehearse the weekend beforehand, and then the show days we were also there all day long because we had matinees and night rehearsals. So one of the first days that we had rented out the theater, we're all there and like they would always order us food for like all of the cast and musicians and everything. So we're all in there eating. And this was like before we were really like serious. It was like you're still like super embarrassed to be like talking to each other and you don't really know how you feel. So you don't want anybody to know that you talk to each other yet. Yes. So something had happened. We had been talking like out in the corridor, trying to like hide and just like talk. And then somebody caught us talking, and then because she saw, everyone knew about it within 10 minutes because, again, this is a very small school. And when we're talking about the musicals, you have, like, everyone who's anyone at the school is there because you have the top musicians, all of the top actors, all of the top dancers, all of the top singers. Like, everyone who matters is on these shows. So all of a sudden everybody is aware that like something is going on, and one of the girls who was like a lead had been also talking to him apparently. So she comes up to me and starts yelling at me, and I'm like, whoa, what? And then another person comes up to me and starts yelling at me because apparently he had a girlfriend at a different school, and like all of these things are happening all in like within 5 minutes, and I'm like, I'm just a freshman. And then they were they were all, so he's a year older than me, and so is everyone else who's talking to me in this. Okay. So there's an additional like stress because you're all like older than me, and they're like talking about how like you're a little freshman and you don't know anything about this situation and what are you doing here? Oh, I love. And I was like, I'm just in the musical. Like, what are you yelling at me for? Stop. Yeah. And so that like should have been the big red flag of being like, maybe they're onto something, because I thought, well, and he played it off so well of like, no, there's no one else, and like whatever. Of course he did. Yeah, and so I just believed him, and then things go on from there, and there's 3 years worth of cheating and lying and all of these things. And then like the thing that really broke the camel's back at the end of our relationship, one is that I was just so over like being lied to all the time. Like there was so much proof to know that he was regularly cheating on me and stuff. Right. And so during a dance show, So he was always like really weird about coming to my shows. He like didn't want me to, but he was also a musician, and he was in a band on top of like being in the band at school.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I would always go to his shows and like go to his band shows, and so why can't you come to my dance show? And he was always really weird about it. And so the dance show was 3 days, and he didn't come to the first 2, and then I like flipped out on him the second night being like, you need to come tomorrow or we're done. Like, why you don't have any excuse? You don't have work, you don't nothing, like you have no excuse, and you've known about it for months, so why? No, get your butt here and show up. And you need to sit with my parents, because he also was really weird about my parents, and he like didn't want to be anywhere near them. And so he comes
weird,
and he didn't sit with my parents, and he came with his best friend, who's also one of the kids that was in the car in that same story. Who I hated, though. I did not like this kid. I think I like pushed all of my anger at my boyfriend into this kid. For some reason, I just was able to like transfer all of my anger at him for no reason, because he wasn't a part of it. But so he brings this friend with him, and so he shows up, and so at the end of the shows, you would always come out and like you would have like this swarm of parents and friends and whatever. And so my parents are divorced, and they always did really well of like being willing to come together for things like this. So I go and say hi to them, and I was like, oh, let me see if I can find the boyfriend and see if he's here, so that he can come say hi, because he didn't sit with them. So finally I find him. He's leaving. He's walking out towards his car and going to try to leave before he even says hi to me. And then I catch him, and he has a rose for me, and he turns around and he's like, oh, here you go. And I'm like, you were going to leave with the rose that you were going to give me? What? And then and then all of a sudden it like hits that this kid is with him. And I was like, oh, and so-and-so is here. Like, you not only didn't, you came, you were trying to leave, you didn't sit with my parents, and you brought him. Like, what?
Yeah.
And and then he like wouldn't come and say hi to my parents. He like was like, oh, I gotta go because the kid had work. And I'm like, the friend. I'm just like, I don't understand. What is this excuse? So they leave. They don't say hi to my parents, nothing. And that was basically the end. I mean, that wasn't really the end, because then we like spent a whole nother. Yeah, like that was the official breakup, but I also like fucked around with him for like over a year after that, because life. I feel like a lot of us tend to do that thing. So that was a very big part of like my high school experience, was just this like all-encompassing cyclical relationship with him. It was very weird. And like I never wanted to go to parties with him, because he would always ignore me. But then when I wouldn't go to parties, I would always get text messages about who he was like doing things with at the parties. So it was just like always this like catch-22. I think that's why I didn't like parties.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Dang, what an experience.
Yeah.
Because that's like all of high school. I'm sorry. That's okay.
Yeah, it was all of it.
You learn. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did learn from it. And like I do talk about that in that video that I mentioned. Just like, I mean, I learned very quickly, not quickly. I learned it through that relationship exactly what I'm not willing to put up with, which I think is why we've talked about it before, but like I'm not interested in playing games. So when I go into a relationship, I'm like, hey, I like you, and I want you to either say you like me or not. Like, I don't want to play this like, ooh, we'll see. I'm like, no.
We'll see where it takes us, or Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dang. Crazy, man. But here you are, happily married now.
I am.
It happens for a reason, you know? Yeah. Dang. Friendships for me were rough in high school, just because like in the beginning it wasn't. In the beginning it was so well, let me backtrack. The middle was fantastic and a breeze. Because in the beginning, like I said, I was still new. I had only a couple friends that I brought from like, that I still had from like 8th grade to high school. And then the end, we all know how that ended for me. So the middle was like fantastic. I had really good group of friends, whether it be like with the cheer girls and the cheer family or with the girls that I met before cheer. I was also in choir 8th grade. So like I still had some friends from choir through high school, and like that was all fantastic. I had so many different groups and like things that I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to be that girly girl in the clique with the cheer team, but then on the same time, I like one of my really good friends that I'm not friends with anymore, but like we are on social media, but we don't talk at all.
Mm-hmm.
I met her one day sitting in gym class, and she was reading a book, and like I went up to her and said like, "Hi, how are you? Like, what are you reading?" Just making a friend. And like it was like one of the best friendships of like my life. And yeah, it was fantastic. There are some amazing memories that I have. There were 5 of us girls who were really good friends all through high school, almost until senior year basically ended. But we would do the craziest things. There's pictures of us like or videos of us. We would go to Rochelle's house and we would put tents in the backyard and sleep there. We would dress up in newspapers one year. I don't know why we did that. And it was always like, we would always make these summer list of things that we want to do, and we would do them all. We one time surprised one of the girls. We dressed up in in anything we can find in, one another's houses, whether it be crazy glasses, scarves, hats, your parents' coats, and like would dress up crazy and then show up on one of our friends' doorsteps. And it was just like, man, there was like some great times with those girls. I love those girls.
Awesome.
Yeah. And one of those, that's the group that Rochelle was into. So like there was, yeah. So I shared some great stuff with her. Yeah.
I didn't really have like a group, which again is, I think, part of, I don't know. I think it's partially because of the relationship I had with that boyfriend. Yeah. I think it's partially because I was still trying to hold on to the friendships I had from middle school that were at a different school. Yeah. And so I maintained that friendship with that person. And so because of that, I like didn't really like give my time to people who went to school with me. Yeah. And then I was friends with a girl that was 1 year under me. And I was friends with one girl who was a year older than me. And then when she graduated, so I was pretty close with her, and we did a lot of the musical stuff together. She was like my musical friend. So we were always in rehearsals all the time together. And she was great. We didn't really like hang out outside of rehearsals though. Like we never took the time to like, other than like I was always the person who gave everyone rides because I was the only one with a car. So like I did give her like car rides to and from school during one of the years, and then she graduated, and like we're still friends on Facebook and stuff, and Instagram and whatever. And then the girl that is a year under me, we were really close like my sophomore year, her freshman year, and my junior year we started not being as close. Nah, junior year was still pretty close, and then my senior year we really like broke down our friendship. And she was just kind of like vapid and like and she wasn't interested. She didn't think it was cool that I did all of the musicals and stuff. So then it was kind of like, why am I spending
unsupportive? So bye.
Yeah, like, are you gonna come, or are you gonna participate or whatever? I don't care. Yeah. Right. So then that was her, and then I met my really good friend that I was friends with up until like a couple of years ago, and then I don't know really what happened, but she's 2 years younger than me, so we became friends my junior year. And that relationship was the girl who I would go to her house and like stay the night at all the time. Yeah. And so for my junior and senior year, we were just like connected at the hip. In fact, a lot of people thought we were like in a relationship, and I'm like, no. And she was like, no. And I was like, I mean, maybe, but it wasn't ever.
Stop it.
We used to always joke about that. Like, yeah. We would hold hands and like walk through campus to like confuse everyone. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I had her, but we never really had like a group of friends. I mean, I had all of these like individual friends, but they were not friends with each other.
Yeah.
And then I have my one friend from high school still to this day, but I was not friends with her in high school. We became
I remember you
friends
telling me that.
in college.
Yeah. Then finding out you went to this. Yeah.
Yeah, and like she's great. And we were always nice to each other. We knew each other. And she was actually mutual friends with the girl that I said was vapid. They were mutual friends and they were the same year. But yeah, we just never really connected, and we didn't ever like go in the same circles. I guess it's
right.
weird because for such a small school as we were, it was still cliquey. Like the musicians hung out together and the actors hung out together.
It's easy. Cliques are so easy to do. There was definitely that in my high school too, which made it difficult sometimes. My school had so much spirit. Also, like it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I was saying in the beginning, like we really excelled kind of in every sport or in every like curricular activity, like literally everything. So there was a lot of like pride from the people on the teams, and the support that they had from the whole school was like fantastic. So they're like when all of us would get together, it would be fantastic, and like there were not a lot of fights or anything like that. It was nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have any other stories. I guess my main thing was the cheer situation, and
what do you think that you like your experience of high school taught you the most? Like what's the biggest takeaway for you?
I don't know. That's really hard because I'm someone who like I don't regret anything. I like the cheer situation. Like I don't regret it. It taught me a lot. It like helped build, my parents' relationship with me, like what it is now compared to then. Like it helped us to crash that hard. So I don't know. I think just like taking things slowly. I'm definitely a person who sometimes, likes to rush. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that I just need to like let time do its thing. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Just not rush and kind of just, Yep. I think that what would be yours?
I think mine is, I have a couple, and we've touched on all of them, I think.
Yeah.
But like in regards to like working or what I'm good at or like all of that, like on the aspect of like making decisions that I was like, oh, I really want to be this, but not being able to recognize my strengths.
Yeah.
And then also like in the sense of like making decisions, like adult decisions, even when I should have like been able to be free and like get to do what I wanted because there was no other time for that.
Right.
I think I take away like listen to where you want to spend your energy and expend your energy, like, and then focus on it and like stop looking 500 directions and focus in and hone in on that, whatever that craft looks like. And I think I am finally getting to the point where I actually can like take that in. And then when it comes to like friendships, I think being willing to cut people out when they are actually toxic is great.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you like, I very vaguely mentioned the fact that like that one friendship I had with the girl that I used to spend the night at all the time, we're not friends anymore. And like she cut me out and I don't really know why, and that's okay. And like on both sides of like being the person who has cut people out and being the person who's been cut out, like I just am gonna move on and it's all right. And I don't have any hard feelings toward her for making that decision. And I also don't really have any hard feelings like that really dig deep in me for the people who did like hurt me and I made the decision to leave them out. Yeah. And I think just like learning from all of those different friendships or relationships and then being able to move on from there is really healthy.
No, that's a really good takeaway. Agreed. Agreed. I think side note, I think something that also I took away from high school is like a strength is that I don't really hold on to things. Like I don't let a lot get me down, or like when I do, I don't dwell on it for so long. And you can see that as a bad thing or as a good thing, but yeah, I feel like it's a strength for me. Just
Awesome.
yeah. So I don't know. That's something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Something that was, I didn't bring this up because I didn't really know any of the people, but my freshman year in high school was really, really rough emotionally because that year, a total of 4 people in my life had died. And when I say in my life, 2 of them I knew and 2 of them I didn't know. One out of the 2 of them that I knew, one of them I just knew and like had talked to, and the other one I was like really good friends with. And she was here in California, actually. She had just passed away like the beginning of my freshman year. So like a year after I moved. And because everyone was so supportive when all of those, well, 3 things within my high school happened, it was a very emotional year for everyone. You know, it was, yeah, it was pretty crazy. So to say the least, freshman year sucked, but then it went up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty not coincidental, but things happened like that around me, but I was never personally affected by them. But we had, so the year before I became a freshman, one of the freshmen, so he would have been a sophomore with the same class as my boyfriend, who I later became boyfriend and girlfriend with. He unexpectedly died. And so we like walked in freshman year to a lot of grief.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we, like, my class wasn't grieving, but everyone in the school was grieving. And then my sophomore year, my friend who went to the other high school, there was somebody who died that she was friends with. And she was actually with her like 15 minutes before she died. So like she had an experience with it. And like I was, of course, friends with her and like there for her, but like I wasn't experiencing the same thing. Those are the 2 big ones that
I know.
really
I didn't
tough.
mean to like, I didn't mean to bring it up, but that's definitely something I think about when I think of high school, just because that's how it started for me, you know, amongst other things, of course, as a whole freshman year, but yeah. Crazy.
The girl who died sophomore year, she has a bigger impact on me, even though I didn't know her personally, just because my friend who went to that school, the whole friend group that I eventually became friends with later, like after high school, were all friends with her. So like she was a big part of like our lives, even though I didn't know her, you know?
Right.
And like obviously it's not the same as them and their experience, but yeah, it's pretty wild to have such young.
I know. Yeah, very sad.
I think that looking back on high school, I don't think it was the best time of my life. I think it was a good time of my life. And I think that there's a lot of pressure on teenagers now to like make high school the best. And like it's okay if it's not the best.
Also, just in topic of people in high school, like they think everything they do has to be the best nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, so it's rough.
Yeah.
I'm sure the experience is 100 times different.
We didn't talk about prom. I just wanted to say that my prom dresses were the best.
Oh, wow.
That was the best part of prom.
Well, so I couldn't go to prom, of course, until my junior year because only seniors can go to prom, or juniors if you got to be taken by a senior or like went with a group of senior friends kind of thing. So yeah, I went to both, and I don't remember my junior year dress, but my senior year dress was like, I look back at it, I'm like, I could have done a little better. But that's because, like, my style now is very different from my style then. So, like, it was so cute to me back then. It was, like, the style of, like, it was short and fit me so well. It was a tube top. It was this gorgeous color blue, like my electric blue school color. And super short, had sequences all on it. And short, like I said, above the knee. And then it had the sheer over it, like cut in the front, but like down to the floor length. And so it was like beautiful wavy. But yeah, meh.
Yeah. I went junior year and senior year. So like, because my school was so small, technically we were allowed to go every year if we wanted to. And it wasn't technically called prom, but we all treated it like prom. And so most of us would choose not to go until senior year. But I was dating a senior, so I went with him junior year. And the best thing about that relationship was prom night. Like, he did so good. I picked this long, fitted dress, and it was, it had black and lime green and black. And it's going to sound so ugly, but I swear it was so cool. And it had like this abstract, like, plant, like, design. I'm gonna have to find a picture of it. Maybe we can find old prom photos and post it on our Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. Down.
Except I need to figure out how to do that without showing my prom dates, because I do not want to do that. But anyway, he did so
girls
perfect.
My prom.
He did so perfect though. He found a tie that matched perfectly. He got me a corsage that matched perfectly, and he got us a hotel room for that night, and it was great. And he did so well. That's like the highlight of that relationship. Is junior year prom. Aww. And then my senior year prom, my dress was so great. It was
the back one.
No, that's the green one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this one was a strapless, like, corseted dress. So like it was like it was hard on the waist and stuff, and it was a drop waist, and then it poofed out, like, not big poof, but like A-line poof. And it was black and white, and it had this beautiful, so it was strapless, but then it had this beautiful lace that went across one arm that went all the way down the bodice.
I think I've seen a picture of this one. Beautiful.
Oh my God, it is so pretty. I wish I still had it. Actually, I might have it somewhere in storage. I don't fit in it anymore. You might fit in it, but I wouldn't fit in it. And yeah, it was so gorgeous. But my prom date, he was annoying, and he used my prom to go hang out with his friends that were my age. He also had graduated a year ahead of me. And so then my friend, who was the same girl I used to go and spend the night with every night, she went stag with us. And she, so the dress that I had on, the A-line part, the skirt part, had a bunch of tulle that like kept falling off. Honestly, it wasn't really that well made, but let's not talk about it. Anyway, she pulled off a piece. Yeah, it looked great. She pulled off a piece and made us corsages because he didn't get me a corsage. And it was so cute.
What a great friend.
Yeah. And then like I had told my prom date, like, hey, are you getting us a hotel room? Because I was trying to hint the fact that I wanted a hotel room, and he never got us one. And so then he went to drop Delara off, and I was like, well, what's next? And he was like, oh, I'm going home, and like I can drop you off. And I was like, no, I'll just stay here. And then me and my friend had Tommy's Burgers in our prom dresses, and that was our prom night after prom.
No. At least you got to eat nice burgers. Oh,
yeah, it was like a good prom night, but like
at least one of them was good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh dang.
Yeah.
Oh dang.
So funny.
Well,
what an
exciting
experience.
I know. Oh, gotta love it.
Okay, we found a quote. And are you ready?
Yep.
If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you.
I love it. Strive, honey. I like it not only for like high school and like childhood days, like take that now in life. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yeah. I love that one a lot.
Yeah. It's such
You're
a great
only
sentiment.
One that can stop yourself.
Yes. Like, and talking about like what I was saying about taking away, like take what you want to strive for and focus in on it, hone in on it, and then keep learning from it, and never think that you've learned enough. Like you can always do more.
Yeah. There's always room to grow. Always. Mm-hmm. One of Andre's really good friends, which I think he said this in our episode. I think this was our quote, but like, shoot, and yeah, it's not correct, but like, you're always going to get like 1% better kind of thing, like every day. You know what I mean? I like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And don't like, what's that like phrase that people saying is like, never sit on your laurels.
I have never heard that before, but yes.
Oh. Well, I don't even really know what Laurels is, but it's a quote from Bring It On.
Okay.
They made fun of it. They make fun of it because somebody says it and they're like, "What's a laurel?" And
okay. I need to watch that movie.
I know, we really do. Let's watch that for our next movie night.
It had to be their moment. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. All right. With that is the end of our episode.
Yes.
So
hope you enjoyed.
Week. We have all of our social medias linked down below for both individually Bailey and myself, as well as our Instagram and Twitter for Girls Who Gab. Like we mentioned, we should probably find some prom photos, and we will be posting those.
I like that. Or my newspaper pictures. That would be great.
Oh yes,
I think I have those actually.
Photos. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something along the lines of like things that we did in high school. I'll try to find some. I have some good dancing ones too, so we can do something like that.
Get creative.
So you guys should go check those out. And we post every Monday. And make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and rate us on Apple Podcasts. We also are available on Spotify.
Yes, we are. All right.
Cheers.
Peace.